how? Like, how did he get out? How did he open his door and then just, like, let her drown?
And in court, she said, "Oh, but the doctors didn't find any drugs or alcohol in my system."
How's that not a felony? That should be, like, murder.
At this point, one or two small black beings, approximately 3 feet tall, emerged from the yacht. He was the 16th century goat.
Literally one of the biggest mysteries that has just perplexed humanity.
It is possible that some entity could come through and, like, devour our planet, like Thanos level. Like,
what the heck? we got Yetis and aliens at the top right now, so we're working with what we got here. Like, how did these structures even get built? Not even the fact that they're on this line, but how are these people back then making these things? Hey everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Southern Woke. I'm Kalen.
And I'm Marina.
And y'all, today we are
Turking. Y'all, we are turking about HAARP.
Y'all, today we are talking about HAARP the Herald's Angels Sing, the HAARP Conspiracy.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Have y'all freaking heard of this one?
Okay, but the premise of this theory, y'all, is that the government has some way to control the weather. And I know it sounds absolutely insane whenever you first hear about it, but then you start listening to it and you're like, maybe this isn't that far off. And if there is truth behind this, there's some people that are blaming this for giant catastrophes that happened that killed a lot of people. So it'd be pretty bad if this actually is real.
Yeah, so our major goal this episode for all of us is to figure out what is HAARP and what exactly does it do, and why did it become this big conspiracy theory? And then we're going to see if there's any evidence that supports or debunks these theories. And then finally, of course, well, you're kind of going to get this sprinkled all throughout, what we think about it, which is always the best part, you know? So, HAARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. So, if we go straight to the HAARP website, it states that HAARP is a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behavior of the ionosphere, with particular emphasis on being able to understand and use it to enhance communications and surveillance systems for both civilian and defense purposes. So, they obviously don't come out right and say, we're controlling the weather, obviously. And I should have mentioned this before, but yes, this HAARP facility is in the middle of nowhere in Alaska.
All right, let's go look at it on Google Earth. So, this is it. If y'all are following along on YouTube, y'all are seeing what we're looking at right now. But if not, so do we have an actual size on this? I was going to just throw out like a random size, but last time we did that, we got destroyed in the comments on the Murdaugh episode, so God forbid.
I'd have to guess that's like a few acres. But that's like a lot of antennas. Is the little spiky things the antennas, or the big long white things?
What is she saying?
Why would the antennas be like horizontal?
Yeah, sure, they are shooting up into the spheres.
Or I don't know, those could be like the shadows of them, I guess.
Or maybe those white things are just some like generator or something or other.
Either way, this place kind of looks just like a field with a bunch of antennas sticking up all over. Like, that's it. Like, there's nothing like crazy giant structures. It's just like this field with these antennas.
Literally smack dab in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, like, if we zoom out, there's like nothing going on around here except for this HAARP facility.
Why y'all trying to be so secretive, Area 52?
Can we talk about how beautiful Alaska is, even just like from this Google Earth view?
So, okay, we mentioned the ionosphere, and you're probably maybe wondering what the heck is that? But it's the very delicate upper layer of our atmosphere, which ranges from about 30 to 600 miles above the Earth's surface. So thinking back when we were talking in the space episode about how, I think it was like the Blue Origin goes like 62 miles out.
I think it was 68. It was something like
60
that.
something. But like the ionosphere, I guess, is just like a bunch of extra space. Like, I guess the line is blurred where the atmosphere ends and space begins. So they were just like, yeah, it's 600 miles. That's what it seems like. We want to show you what HAARP sounds like, because these are just a bunch of antennas. They're all transmitting signals, right? But like, it sounds interesting.
It sounds like.
I want to like play this next to my animals and see what they do.
It's funny that you said that, because when it was playing earlier, I could like had it coming out of one of my headphones, and Finley was right next to me, and I kept looking at him to see if he would react anyway, and he didn't. Alright, so yeah, that's the noise it makes.
And so, HAARP's website acknowledges that experiments were conducted which used electromagnetic frequencies to fire pulsed direct energy beams in order to temporarily excite a limited area of the ionosphere. And some scientists state that purposefully disturbing this sensitive layer could have major and even disastrous consequences. And boy, when people back in the mid-90s, early 2000s heard that like scientists were saying that this could cause major and disastrous consequences, they just fucking ran with that. And they're like, yeah, this is bad. Conspiracy theories begin. And then there was a Dr. Bernard Eastland, and he's the scientist whose name is most associated with the creation of HAARP. And I found it very interesting that as much as they claim, like, granted, I don't know if this guy actually ended up developing HAARP himself or if he's just the one that issued the patent. But basically, my point is they go to such lengths to say they're not controlling the weather. But in this patent that was issued to Dr. Eastland, there were many bullet points that were questionable. Some of those being the temperature of the ionosphere has been raised by hundreds of degrees in these experiments. Another one being the Earth's magnetic field could be decreased or disrupted at appropriate altitudes to modify or eliminate the magnetic field. Another one is can be used as an advantage for positive communication and eavesdropping purposes. So like all these bullet points in their little patent for HAARP are very sus. It does not help the conspiracy theory, at all.
Also, I'm sure there's a lot of like scientific stuff that goes into this that I don't know about. So this is just like my guess from the information that I'm seeing right now. I can't imagine that like changing the temperature of the ionosphere, changing the temperature of that by hundreds of degrees probably can't be healthy. Like, I don't think that's something that we should be like really messing with.
So now that we're gonna get into the conspiracy theories for real, like HAARP has been blamed for like any major disaster. Me and Kaylin both lived through Hurricane Katrina, and that's even blamed on HAARP. Do you remember the North Korean earthquake at all? Because it was pretty recent.
Actually, maybe I heard something about it, but I never really looked into it.
So, one of the major theories is that HAARP caused this North Korean earthquake, and it ended up destroying their underground nuclear center. And then everyone was like, Donald Trump made HAARP do that earthquake and ruin his shit. And then they had this peace treaty, and
isn't that kind of fishy? Like,
it is.
It attacked. So like North Korea is like known like as like this crazy, scary, bad place with like nukes, and an earthquake just happens to hit them, knock out their nuclear center, and kill their nuclear scientists. Like, what are the chances of that?
It's a little bit too much of a coinkydink.
Cyclone Nargis began just a few days after HAARP resumed activity at 5:45 in the morning on April 27th, 2008. On April 28th, the storm was basically stationary. By April 29th, Nargis had sustained winds of 100 miles per hour and began moving. It turned rapidly eastward, intensified, and reached peak winds of 135 miles an hour. On May 2nd, it made landfall at maximum strength. It maintained winds of at least 80 miles an hour for hours before it dissipated. The HAARP energy activity continued for days. It finally stopped late in the day on May 11th. About 8 hours later in Chengdu, China, there were reports of strange animal behavior.
What the hell could that be? Like, I can't even wrap my mind around like what I would do if I saw that in my real life. Like, we're talking about a hurricane. Why is the sky glowing?
Suddenly, a massive earthquake hit Chengdu with a magnitude of 8.0 and caused a chain reaction of explosions in the Shuan Mountains. These explosions destroyed the Chinese army's largest armory and their newest weapons test bases. Nuclear facilities that reportedly included several nuclear warheads were also severely damaged. After carefully analyzing the seismic data, experts said the energy released was equivalent to that of an underground nuclear explosion. They claimed that non-geological shock had occurred at the earthquake epicenter.
Non-geological?
Unnatural.
Uh-oh.
Over those 2 weeks, the Nargis
I love the fish.
I kind of like the fish too, but like they're talking about like serious stuff here, then the fish just starts talking to him. I was so not ready for that.
Yeah, I watch this guy a lot. He's a really cool. He talks about really cool topics, and that fish is like golden. So, this next little point to bring up. So, obviously, we mentioned that HAARP began in 1993.
1993.
That was weird that popped in right behind you.
I know. So, here we're about to compare how they talked about HAARP in 1995 when the news wasn't as censored versus a news broadcast from France from like 6 months ago, and like let's just see how the differences are and how they talk about it.
The FAA started warning pilots to stay away from a certain section of airspace over Alaska. The U.S. government was experimenting with a new breed of high-altitude electronic technology that was significantly altering the Alaskan airspace. The experiments continue to this day, and critics are warning that this project could have global effects that will destroy our planet. In Alaska, the rugged, pristine wilderness is timeless, most of it remaining just as it has for thousands of years. In the midst of all this natural beauty, just outside the small town of Gakona, stands an enormous and seemingly harmless antenna farm. It is a $100 million Air Force project known as HAARP, and critics of the soon-to-be completed facility charge it just may turn out to be the ultimate doomsday machine. When HAARP is fully operational, it will transmit extremely powerful blasts of high-frequency radio waves directly up into the atmosphere, superheating the electrons that make up the ionosphere. This will cause them to disperse, effectively punching a hole.
And what happens if said hole is punched through the atmosphere?
That was the creepiest way for a video to freaking end. Yeah, like what happens if that happens? Nothing good.
But yeah. But like,
And
see how
that was
their
like
approach is
Yeah,
so
that was like a
calm?
news report.
Yeah. Like they were worried. Like, yeah, they were like, yeah, this could have catastrophic effects on things. But they were so calm about it. Versus the French that we're about to listen to.
Kathleen is waiting by the big book. Good evening, Kathleen. Today, looking at a review of climate change policy theories circulating online. Tell us more.
The COP27 summit is underway in Egypt as leaders get together to discuss climate change. We'll be discussing conspiracy theories, of course, on climate change, notably the HAARP conspiracy theory, where there are many who believe that climate change is due to HAARP, not global warming. So HAARP would be this ultra-secret climate controlling weapon supposedly belonging to the U.S. Army. We'll explain HAARP a little bit more in detail. Let's just navigate here through some recent examples of this conspiracy theory online. We have this tweet today from the World Health Organization that says the climate crisis is causing extreme weather events like floods and heavy rainfall. This is putting lives in danger. Of course, we know this to be true, but there are some users that allege that you know what else is causing extreme weather events. HAARP and geoengineering, which go hand in hand, weather modifications. There's one tweet, one that right there from the WHO. There's also these TikToks. This user in French claiming that the actual temperatures right now aren't real. Do your research on HAARP. Or this video right here of this user from October, so pretty recent as well, as conspiracy theorists claim that HAARP is a weather modification ultra secret research program of the U.S. government. Mark?
So, what is HAARP, and does it really exist? Tell us more.
So HAARP does exist. It's a research program. It stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, and it's based in Alaska. So here we have a video of its location right here of this research program.
Just real quick, that board she has is the coolest thing ever. Like, I want one of those in my room to be like, click, click, show.
Yeah, and why don't all of our news people have that?
Seriously.
I'd actually watch the news, maybe.
In Alaska, a program that was originally financed by the U.S. Army from the 1990s up to 2014, and then it was passed on to the University of Alaska Fairbanks in 2015. Here we have an up-close image on Google Earth of this research program composed of up to 190 antennas. We can see it up close here on Google Earth, and these antennas and radio transmitters right here can only affect
that's what the big white things are.
Above it. They definitely can't control weather conditions or natural disasters, as conspiracy theorists claim. Mark?
Indeed, some conspiracy theorists might be listening to you and doubting that, Kathleen. This is the great thing about what we're doing right now, isn't it? You have more examples of this kind of HAARP conspiracy theory and what people are saying online. Tell us more.
We do have more examples, real-life examples online. This one coming from Brazil. It's an example that's been circulating for many years. This one, for example, from July 1st to 2021. This user claims in the Brazilian Amazon forest, the inhabitants destroy HAARP antennas, alleging that these right here are HAARP antennas in the Amazon rainforest.
Bro, I feel like that's just your electricity.
Alaska. So let's take a look at the video that goes with this tweet right here.
It doesn't look like the other ones.
Where we do see the videos right here where we do see people bringing down these antennas in Brazil, allegedly tearing down these HAARP antennas in the Amazon rainforest. So we found the original video right here on YouTube from November 6, 2017, titled in Portuguese right here that this took place in the Igarashi farm in western Bahia. We can see the same images right here of residents bringing down electrical transformers. So this video was actually a video of vandalism that took place in Brazil in 2017 of people bringing down electrical installations in this farm in Bahia, not HAARP antennas. So this conspiracy goes way back, at least 20 years back, as conspiracy theorists also attribute this conspiracy theory to the Katrina, the Hurricane Katrina here, for example. This Twitter user saying, weather modification is real, HAARP is real, Hurricane Katrina, Gustav Isaac, and now Harvey all happened around the exact same date. So this user contributed.
Quick note on that. Like, hurricane has a hurricane season. So if they're all happening around the same date, I feel like it's just because that's in hurricane season.
I know, but like at the same time, didn't like Hurricane, what was that last bad one that started with the I? Hurricane Ira?
You talking about the one that, like, we were out of power for, like, a month?
Yeah.
Why can't I even think of the name of it? Ida.
Me either. Like, hurricanes happen so often, it's hard to keep track. But that one, I'm pretty sure, happened on the same exact day as Katrina.
Oh, I think you're right. I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
Are you holding a cat?
Yeah.
Is that
It's
Binks?
Winnie.
Oh, that's Winnie.
Yeah. She just purring.
Oh.
She's like, tell these motherfuckers to be nice to the weather. Don't control it.
Yeah, seriously.
And also, like, there are just weird things that happen in nature. I have no freaking idea if these things could be real in the first place, how they would occur, but you know people are out there saying, oh, that's HAARP. So we have a few examples of scenarios like that.
Y'all, so if y'all are just listening to the podcast right now, not watching, you have to like stop whatever you're doing right now. If you're at work, go take a bathroom break or something, and y'all have to watch this one because once again, I don't know if this is real or not, but this is absolutely wild looking if it is real. What the F?
Like, what causes that? Please, anyone out there, please let me know.
And that sound effect better be added in. Because what the heck is screaming like that?
That's just a creepy background track. I feel like I hear that sound in so many TikToks.
Is it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
But still, why is the water reacting like that? Like, that's not natural.
Hell no. It's like reverse raining. That's my best description.
Reverse raining.
Like, instead of the water coming out of the sky, it's like shooting out of the waters up. I don't know. And then this next one.
Apparently this is from like the test flight of the Artemis rocket or whatever, but it doesn't change the fact that this thing still basically made a cloud, which is wild.
And as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain.
The rockets out here flooding that Mississippi Delta.
Raining! That's unbelievable!
A rocket can make a cloud, basically? Is it that far off to believe that we could somehow control the weather?
Yeah. Like, literally just take that part of the rocket that makes that, make it into its own machine. Boom, you're making clouds left, right, and up, down, everywhere, and it's raining everywhere.
Somebody in the comments also said, like, why don't they just make these machines and then we would never have droughts again? Like, let's put our taxpayer money into, like, some cloud machines, like, and then just, boom, permanent rain if we need it.
Because when anyone in power ever has enough money, they don't ever use it for good.
Let's get, like, Elon Musk on board with this. I bet he would do it.
Maybe. I don't know. Reach out to his team.
Yeah, let me just holla at his team real fast.
Now that we've addressed the weather side, another huge conspiracy theory when it comes to HAARP is mind control. How great. We've got weather and mind control.
There's like the people that believe in HAARP and they're like, I believe it controls the weather. And then there's those people that are like, oh, you just believe in like the weather part of HAARP? Psst, no. There's also like a mind control part of this shit.
Yeah. So, the capability of influencing or controlling human emotions has been studied by the military and intelligence services of the world for many decades already. But with HAARP's powerful broadcast capabilities, it's within the realm of possibility that powerful antennas could triangulate on an exact location in the world and send highly intensified frequencies of a certain emotion to produce that emotion in said group of people, as the human mind naturally entrains to strong frequencies around it. So basically, if you're around a certain frequency for a while, your mind just kind of adapts, I guess, and in some kind of way, it translates to emotions.
I don't like thinking about that. That's scary.
It kind of like reminds me, what was that movie called? Bird Box? Have you ever seen that?
I have.
Like, it wasn't an actual, like, virus or anything. I don't even remember what the bad thing in that movie was necessarily, but it was like...
You, like, couldn't, like, see something. Or, like, look, right?
I think you couldn't make a sound.
No, you're thinking of A Quiet Place.
Bro, there's so many movies like this. It's hard to keep track. But I don't know. I see it playing out something like that. Like if they were to do a mind control thing and then like all of a sudden everyone's just fucking crazy and like banging their heads into walls.
Yeah, like you could like take out an entire nation like that. Like shoot that into like a country and then everybody just like destroys itself from the inside. Like,
But also, if they really do have mind control capabilities, I think they're gonna, or maybe they already are doing it on a much minor scale. That way, because like, you know how some Americans are like, we know something ain't right with the way things are being run, but what if they're just like mind controlling us to be like tolerant of it all? No one rise above. Because you would have thought we would have had a civil war like years ago.
it's kind of wild that we haven't had a civil war in these last couple of years, honestly.
It's a miracle. Maybe it's because we all are just soaking in these frequencies. Maybe it's TikTok that's sending us the frequencies. Maybe that. I'm just getting off on a
here we
tangent.
go.
So, mind control. It's a thing. And also, like, subliminal messages could also, like, be broadcast over, like, TV and stuff. Like, that's always been, I feel like, a conspiracy theory is, like, the whole subliminal message thing.
I was so obsessed with like learning about that back in the day and watching all kinds of the subliminal that's probably like the segue that really got me into conspiracy theories, was like, that's wild. And it is true, like a lot of scary movies do that. They'll put like a couple little frames in there that you can't even see that'll just show something like really creepy and scary, and it'll give you the feelings of fear without you even recognizing that it's happening. So like,
Yep. It's very scarily possible. If they wanted to mind control us, I'd like to think I'm acting on my own free will.
but if you think you're acting on your own free will and you're not, that's how they get you.
Obviously. Okay. So, then I found this video, and it's kind of like, okay, we have put these coincidences together. HAARP is powered on around these big major weather events, and HAARP was asked, what do you have to say about these conspiracies?
It's not responded specifically to earthquake claims, it has responded to weather manipulation theories. HAARP scientists have stated that the facility cannot control weather. Earth's weather is produced in the troposphere and stratosphere. HAARP's radio waves don't interact with these lower layers of the atmosphere. Scientists have said that if ionospheric storms caused by the sun can't affect Earth's weather, then HAARP definitely cannot. But this doesn't mean that artificial earthquakes are impossible. There are at least two ways that humans can cause earthquakes. The first is fracking or hydraulic fracturing, which is used to extract oil and natural gas. Wastewater produced by fracking is pumped into deep underground wells, and this can cause temblors. The second way to create a quake is through nuclear explosions. Quakes caused by nuclear blasts are much smaller than the explosion, and not all blasts cause quakes. The range of these is a few tens of kilometers, as per the USGS. Some account.
Okay, so they're basically saying like weather
Is going on in the stratosphere and the troposphere, and that HAARP doesn't interfere with those. But if I'm not mistaken, in order to get to the ionosphere, you gotta go through the other spheres.
Yeah, but I think they were also saying that like solar storms and stuff that do happen out there in the ionosphere don't affect like weather on Earth. And so like, they were saying like if that can't affect it, then HAARP definitely can't. So like
But
I understand like that bit, but
I also found, and I forgot to link it in our show notes, but there was an article, like a research paper, where like scientists were looking more into that ionosphere and the storms that happen in that realm. It's not like rainstorms or anything. Like I said, it's just like wind and electric magnetic stuff. But I don't know. I'm not convinced by that.
Yeah, like part of me still doesn't think that that's a thing, but
So, I feel like at the end of all of this, it's hard for me to say whether or not I fully 100% believe that HAARP is doing weather control, but I definitely believe whatever they are doing is affecting the natural Earth. For sure.
I definitely agree. And so many people, when they talk about HAARP, are talking about how we shouldn't play God. And I'm not saying that if they're just doing this for like radio wave control stuff, that that's them playing God. But if they are manipulating those different spheres of the atmosphere and the universe and heating them, which we know is a fact, they're heating them by a couple hundred degrees, that's probably not good. We probably shouldn't be playing around with stuff like that. Because imagine if, like, I feel like if another country that wasn't us was heating up the atmosphere by hundreds of degrees, like, we'd probably have an issue with that. But the
that's
fact
the
that
thing. I feel like I've noticed so many other countries have similar types of facilities where they just have this big field and a bunch of antennas. Like, I'm pretty sure the European Union has one. I think there was one in South America. But there's a handful of kind of similar things out there. But for some reason, all this conspiracy is centered around HAARP, and it doesn't surprise me because it's America that runs it.
it makes sense. It makes sense.
But I don't know that what they're doing could, say, direct a whole hurricane and change its path like it was claimed, or just like create this just monstrous storm. I don't know, maybe under the right conditions of like whatever they're doing in the ionosphere with whatever's naturally happening lower interacting with each other, maybe that could make something really intense. But and also I don't know how that could turn into an earthquake either.
Yeah, that one really wasn't sitting right with me either. Like, I can understand like the hurricanes happening because like that happens when like hot and cold comes together, but the earth, unless like you're like shaking and vibrating the earth at a certain frequency and then it causes like the plate tectonics to slide, you know, you have continental drift, Pangea.
Yeah, you're just throwing out all the terms, you know.
I was like going through my geography class.
But yeah, like, and nowhere in any of this stuff do you ever hear about like ground vibrations. So like, I don't think when they're emitting, it's like vibrating at all. And even if it was like a vibration in Alaska, is that really gonna like set off a North Korean earthquake or a Japan? I don't know. I doubt it though. What do you guys think? That's what I'm curious about.
Have y'all heard anything about HAARP or seen anything that maybe we haven't talked about? If so, definitely let us know.
Yeah, if you've got any explanations, I'd love to hear them. Love.
All right, y'all. That is about all we have time for this week. Make sure that you check us out. We are back on YouTube. We have new episodes coming out every Tuesday. We also have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, where we post a bunch of content outside of our normal episodes, so definitely go check that out as well.
Yep, and we've got a website, southernwoke.com. You can leave us a voicemail if you really love us, and we'll answer you. We'll call you back.
We'll call you back. All right, y'all. Until next time, we'll see you in 2 weeks with a brand new episode.